We are heading into the final week of the 2022 Toyota Minor League Cricket Championship regular season, and the playoff picture has yet to be finalized. Joining me once again is stats guru Tom Nielsen. Tom, thanks for joining me. What an awesome season so far.
Oh, it's been fantastic. Like you said, last weekend, we've got a lot of playoff drama left. Really excited to see how it goes.
Things didn't really change a whole lot after this, except for in the South where the
Yeah.
picture actually became a little bit more muddy.
Yeah.
Aside from that, the playoff picture has basically remained the same. Things have locked
Yep.
down a little bit more in some areas,
Mhm.
but yeah, the South is really where it's at right now.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Plenty to play for. Like you said, three of the four divisions. We still don't know who the playoff finalists are going to be. We've got first place locked up in a couple of those. But yeah, the South is going to be completely up for grabs. I know we'll talk about it, but it couldn't be almost less clear what's going to happen down there.
Right, and that's basically a three-headed race right there in the South. And the reason why it's so thick is because the Raptors went down to Atlanta last weekend and they beat the Lightning and the Fire, and the
Mhm.
whole division is in a knot right now. At least the top three teams are. There's five teams in that league, in that division, and
Yep.
three of them now could potentially make two of the three have just as good a chance as the next to
Yeah.
make the playoffs. In fact, all three of them, their playoffs is in their hands. There's no
Yep.
waiting for someone to lose right now. At this point,
Yeah.
it's win. It's win. If you're Atlanta, you just need two wins and you're in the
Hmm.
playoffs. If you're the Raptors, you need to win one of the first two games that you play
Yep.
this coming week. Now the Raptors have 4 games this week. They're the only team that has 4 games this
Yeah.
coming weekend, the final weekend of the league. They play Fort Lauderdale Lions on Friday afternoon.
Mhm.
They play the Atlanta Fire on Friday night. Then they
Mhm.
play the Atlanta Lightning on Saturday and on Sunday.
Mhm.
Atlanta Fire have 3 games. They play,
Mhm.
obviously, they play the Raptors on Friday night, and then they have
Mhm.
games on Saturday and Sunday against the Fort Lauderdale Lions. Now,
Mhm.
the Fire just need to win 2 of those 3 games, and they're in the playoffs.
Mhm.
And then you have, like I said, the Lightning on Saturday and Sunday. If they win those 2 games, they're in the playoffs.
Yep.
Now, the Raptors could win their first 2 games. They could beat Fort Lauderdale on Friday and beat the Fire on Friday. And if they lose uh both of those games against the Lightning on Saturday and Sunday, they're out of the playoff as long as the Fire win their games against Fort Lauderdale, which it really looks like they should definitely not
Yeah.
have a lot of trouble with Fort Lauderdale.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, like you said, the Fire are probably in the best position in the South right now. The schedule advantage kind of works in their favor. They get two against Fort Lauderdale, like you said. Winnable matches for them, although Fort Lauderdale is no
Yeah,
walkover.
and they've surprised teams. They've beaten the
Yeah,
Raptors, so, yeah, there's no guarantees, but
yeah.
just looking at the probabilities, looking at the, you know, the state of the teams at the present time, you're right, the Fire has the easiest route.
Yep. Yeah, and they benefit because the Raptors and the Lightning have to play each other twice. So to some extent, only one of them can really come out on top between those two. So yeah, the Fire are definitely in pole position. Model gives them 85% chance to make the playoffs. That might even be underselling it a little bit. It gives the Fort Lauderdale Lions about a 1 in 4 chance in each of their matches, which might be overstating it. But anything can happen. So the Fire, they definitely have to come in all guns blazing. They're missing Steven Taylor, Aaron Jones on USA duty, so that could have put a bit of a dent in their chances. But yeah, definitely the Fire on top. And as you say, Morrisville, whether they win, they need to win at least one on Friday. Whether it's one or two, they really kind of still need to win one against the Lightning the next 2 nights. We talked Morrisville Magic, right? Saturday night under the
Right.
lights.
Yeah.
Going to be a tough experience for the Lightning coming into that. One of the one of the only true road matches, right? In minor league cricket, the crowd's going to be insane, and that'll be a tough matchup for the Lightning on Saturday and Sunday, getting the Raptors at home.
Right, and Friday for the Fire as well, playing under the lights.
Yeah.
Last year they came here and they beat the Raptors under the lights. This year we'll see what happens. But Corney Drysh certainly loves to bowl at Church Street Park.
Mhm.
All these guys, they rave about it. Of course, it's a great ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a real tight race in the South. I think it's going to go right down to the last game on Sunday
Hmm.
afternoon that starts at 2:30. I'll be doing commentary this weekend there, so anybody wants to
Yeah.
listen to me talk about these games in
Sign
real
me up. Sign me up, Nate.
well, I appreciate that. So yeah, if you want to listen to me talk during the games in real time, join in. If you just want to watch the game and put it on mute and not listen to me, that's okay too. But join in, watch the games. It's gonna be a really it's gonna be a good one this weekend. Well, the Atlanta Fire went 1-1 last weekend, and the Atlanta Lightning went 1-1 last weekend, and the Raptors going 2-0 is what put them in this situation. Dane Pete coming through in the clutch on Saturday, scoring the winning runs once again. He is known as he's known for what he can do with the ball. He's known as being a good captain. He's a great captain for this young team. But him and Adit Iguodala really came through for the Raptors when they needed them the most on Saturday
Yeah.
to win the game for the Raptors on the final ball against Kyle Phillip, who had bowled all right, pretty well at that point. But Heath Richards in that game was phenomenal, and he's already both of these guys have bowled. Atlantis has played on Church Street Park before. They like bowling there. They are a team full of tall, fast bowlers, and they got off spin bowlers from either side. And Sid Matani had a great game last time he was there. Let's see how he does. He got hit around a little bit this weekend, but you know, anything can happen this weekend. Like you said, the Morrisville fans will be leaning on Morrisville Magic to try to get into the playoffs, but I'll tell you what, the South has gotten so much better. The South is looking like the West was last year in terms of
Yeah.
going right down to the last game,
Yeah.
like the West did last season. It was 3 teams all along in the West. This season, yeah, we had a long break where some teams didn't play, but yeah, it's been 3 teams.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's outstanding. And you got 6 matches at Church Street Park. Hopefully, all 6 have playoff implications. Certainly, it's looking like they might right now. As you say, I kind of hope it comes down to the last match with you on the call to see if Morrisville can pull it off. But yeah, it's been an unbelievable season, and these are 3 incredible teams. I mean, Morrisville, like you said, incredible captaincy from Dane Pete. They can kind of do it all. They've got great batting, really deep bowling.
Yeah.
The Fire and the Lightning, both strong batting sides. So yeah, really excited to see how this goes at Church Street Park this weekend. It's a nice little festival of cricket. It almost matches what we saw from July 4th weekend. I think there were 7 matches, so this is just about as good.
Right.
I'll definitely be watching all 6, and again, playoff implications all around. So it's going to be a great weekend.
So moving on to the East, everything looks pretty locked up in the East. We've got the New Jersey Stallions in first place with 20 points. They have 2 games left. The best anybody can do is tie them. That would be the only team that can do that is the Yorkers. And if they do, they've got a net run rate advantage. But imagining the Stallions losing 2 in a row, I just don't see that happening.
Unlikely. Yeah. Like you say, Stallions more or less locked up first place. Certainly them and the Yorkers. Just about clinched. I guess we should acknowledge it's not a mathematical clinch in theory.
Right.
If Philly comes in and sweeps Empire State and New Jersey Stallions, and then if the Yorkers get swept by DC Hawks, but the net run rate advantage there is about 2 runs, and realistically, Philly's not going to be able to make that up this weekend.
Right.
But yeah, Stallions and Yorkers, they've more or less locked up 1 and 2. Stallions big favorites to take first place in the division, and definitely they'll all be watching the South with interest to see who their playoff matchup is going to be.
Right. They've got the Philadelphians to overcome on Saturday at Mercer County Park, and they've got the Cavaliers to overcome at Howe Athletic Complex on Sunday. And if they win one of those 2 games, automatically they've got the first place seed. If they don't, they're at the mercy of the Manhattan Yorkers. If Manhattan wins, Manhattan would have to win their 2 games. So yeah, the East looks pretty locked up there. One of the cool stories from the East this weekend is Christopher Barnwell coming back, this time to play for Manhattan. He scored a century against Manhattan last year at Church Street Park. Now he's belting the ball for them. He came back and it looked like he hadn't even left minor league cricket. He scored 43 not out in his first game and 53 in his second game, which was actually a loss to the Philadelphians, the team we just mentioned. The Philadelphians are coming on strong now. It seems like when really they're out of the race. But yeah, Barnwell, sometimes guys leave the league and they'll come back, or they join the league from somewhere else and they struggle for a week or 2. Not the case with Barnwell. He was blowing the doors off everyone right from the first ball.
Yeah, no, it came in firing, and in 2021, one of the best players in the league. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think he was top 5 in total impact. Did it with bat and ball. Really excited that, he's coming into what will be a playoff side and get to see him, in the playoffs this year for the Yorkers. So, yeah, one of those great late season additions that we tend to see in minor league cricket, and really excited to see how he can kind of carry the Yorkers through the playoffs.
We just wrapped up talking about the South, but going back, talking about these Caribbean guys who rejoined teams or joined teams late in the season. Matthew Ford for the Raptors this weekend for Kezi Archibald, who's now with the West Indies A team. So Matthew Ford was fantastic in that final over, bowling in Saturday's win, taking 2 wickets. Basically, it looked like in that last over, it looked like Atlanta Fire were going to go off to scoring 200 runs or close to 200 runs. And it turns out they didn't, because of the bowling of Matthew Ford, who had actually been hit pretty hard before that over. But he came in to bowl the 20th over. They had faith in him. He performed. He limited, I think, to four runs or so in the over, and it took 2 wickets, both of them catches at long off by or mid off by Dane Pete. And all of a sudden they had a target they could chase in the 180s. And at Atlanta, if you're chasing about 180 some and you're batting second, I mean, that's a great scenario for you. That ground is not very big, especially straight. Bowlers tend to bowl to try to get you to hit it to the square sides. And Morrisville, they did it. It went down to the very last ball. But if it hadn't been for Matthew Ford's death bowling in the 20th over there, who knows what would have happened.
Yep. Yeah. Like you said, Matthew Ford, outstanding bowler. It's almost as if I don't even know if Morrisville needed the depth, but certainly coming in to replace Archibald, much needed with the ball. But with the bat too. I mean, he's a mid to lower order guy that he can come in and it's really no problem for him to go at 2 runs a ball for 10, 15 balls. So
great, yeah.
Outstanding finisher as well with the bat. We saw that a lot with Michigan last year.
Right.
So huge, again, another guy on both sides of the ball that could come in and make a difference for Morrisville.
Yeah, it took the first hat trick in the league history last year. Basically it's a like for like replacement. You except for you've got Kezi Archibald who bowls from the left, but other than that, power play, death bowling, and then come in at the end and whack the ball around like same roles. So that was a great grab by the Raptors. I don't think I talked about Aditya Padala's clutch innings with as a somebody who does the commentary for the Raptors, lives in North Carolina. This is pretty much my team, when Padala came in 8 down, I wasn't worried as a fan. I know this guy is a good player, Aditya Padala. I know that he can perform. I know that he can handle the pressure. To me, he's like a medium pace bowling version of like a Kareem Agor or like Ray Remratton. He's a very athletic fielder. He can run really well. He's not going to go out and hit 6 sixes in an over most of I mean, he's capable of it, but you know what I mean. He's good at everything. He does everything really well, and he's an athletic player, and he handles tough situations very well.
You talk about Padala, like even with the ball, he's restricting runs. His impact is 1.5 runs and over. Restricting the opponent by a run and a half and over. And again, excellent. Like you said, everybody can bat, everybody can bowl, everybody can field. They're a fun team to watch. To watch.
Yeah, they're kind of like reminiscent a little bit of the Stallions in a way,
Yep.
So we'll keep an eye on that. Once again, I've raved on about the Raptors. I think this episode might be called the Raptors recap or something.
Nothing wrong with that. They're a fun team to talk about, huh?
For weeks I wasn't saying their name at all because they didn't play for 3 weeks.
Didn't play, rain. Yep.
Yeah.
Schedule quirks.
So there, I've made up for it. Everybody can get on my case for favoritism if they want to. Now let's move on to the Central, the Tigers versus Michigan in that race for second place in the Central. So Michigan have 2 games upcoming versus Dallas. Now, this isn't the same Dallas team we saw 2 weeks ago. They're missing a couple of USA players. Obviously, Nosh Kanjigi, who's been their best player all season, and Sushant Madani is out of the team right now. So Michigan have all these reasons to try to win the game. And Dallas has been kind of content where they're at. They've kind of had that division locked up for first place for a little while. That doesn't mean they're going to lay down. By no means will they lay down. But Dallas also got a special new player, didn't they?
Yeah. Willem Ludick coming in to the Dallas squad for the last weekend of the year, and then obviously into the playoffs. They've already clinched first place. One of the top batters in the league last year by total impact. He was a top 10 batter. Just an incredible ad, and like you said, maybe not great for Michigan. Bad timing getting the two Dallas matches. They might have thought they had an in with again Dallas missing Nash and Sushat Madani. But yeah, Ludic coming in, that's a huge ad for their batting lineup, batting attack. And yeah, that's going to be a tough pair of matches for Michigan. They will know what they need to do. So, Chicago Tigers, they play the Chicago Blasters on Friday night. I
Right.
will be there in attendance. If anybody's there, come say hi to me.
Excellent.
But if the Tigers win, then Michigan needs to sweep the Mustangs on Saturday and Sunday. So, Michigan will know going in, do they need to get the sweep, or can they do it with just one? Either way, Michigan's got a pretty strong net run rate advantage. So if the Tigers win and then Michigan wins too, they'll be tied on points, but Michigan's going to take the playoff spot with net run rate. But again, that's going to be a really fierce fight. Get to watch all the matches one at a time. So Tigers Blasters on Friday night to compete with your Morrisville team going against the Fire then at the same time, I'm
love
sure.
love the Friday night games.
Oh,
Love
love it. Under the lights. It's fantastic.
It's excellent. It's great to have games on Friday. It's nice to have another venue that has lights there in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah,
Obviously we want to see maybe some hybrid wicket there in the future.
for
Uh
sure.
actually last weekend was great in the West. We'll get to that, but they played on a hybrid wicket at Morgan Hill. There's a second ground there now that's a
Yeah.
hybrid wicket ground, and that's just
Mhm.
great progress. I think obviously we always wanted more turf. We talk
Yeah.
about more turf, but the hybrid wicket is a great,
Well, it's
you
a
know,
great in between.
transition.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
great. It's a great option. It's not too expensive. It's like probably like a fourth or a fifth of the cost of a turf wicket,
Yeah.
maybe even less. But yeah, it's so yeah, we want to see that in Chicago under the lights. They get that in Chicago with the lights. You're
Yeah.
talking about, making some serious progress. Now it's tough on
Oh, yeah.
these public grounds to cut the grass to the length that you want, because
Yep.
no public rec department's going to want to cut the grass that low.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I've
Bummer.
sat in it in Hanover Park, and yeah, like you said, I love the night games. It gives me a chance to
Right.
check out the matches in person after the kids go to bed
Without
on a Friday
frying,
night. Yep.
without
Yep.
being too hot. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have to find the shade like I learned the hard way last year.
Right.
So yeah, and new ownership coming in with the Tigers as well. They're expanding their ownership group. That could be a really fun team to watch grow in the next few years.
Yeah.
And yeah, their performance this year, first year in the league with the new ownership group, has been a fun to watch. They're an exciting team. They've certainly kind of had, I guess I'd call it, uneven performances throughout the year. If you look at their net run rate, they're like barely over even net run rates. They've lost a few tough matches. They were
Right.
missing Calvin Savage for the holiday weekend.
Sure.
But again, really exciting team. And certainly whether it's them or Michigan getting into the playoffs, that's two teams, new blood into the playoffs. Both, Dallas wasn't in there last year, and then either Chicago or Michigan would be new to the playoffs. So
Right. We're
good
getting
to
two
see a little bit
teams.
of parity in the Central.
Yeah, we're getting two new teams in the Central. That's excellent. But both of these teams, the Tigers and Michigan, they had a chance to take
Mhm.
control of second place. They had a chance to really
Yep.
take control of the second spot. The Tigers had a stinker versus Lone Star. Michigan, they had a stinker versus Houston. And
Yeah.
Houston split with Michigan. So means that Houston's out of the picture right now. But
Yep.
if they had won both games against Houston, they would be right. We'd be in the mix. We'd be talking about three teams too right now. Now it's
Yeah.
impressive to me what Houston has done to turn the team around, but it just wasn't. They just didn't do it soon enough.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. For Houston, a little kind of too little, too late. Like you said, just missing out on the playoff spot. St. Louis as well. They're actually still in with a chance. If if the Tigers and Michigan Cricket Stars, they've kind of stumbled a little bit late. If they lose all their matches this weekend in St. Louis, I think they've got to sweep Lone Star Athletics, if I'm not mistaken, this weekend. They could, in theory, make up net run rate advantage against Michigan. Again, unlikely. They've got about a full run on net run rate. But again, if Michigan's losing two and St. Louis is winning two, they're not quite out of it. So yeah, kind
Right.
of a after Dallas, it's been a pretty wide open Central Division. you know, a lot of teams are going to finish within a game or two of 500. I kind of feel like Lone Star Athletics, my model, they've been a little unfortunate this year. They've lost a few really close matches.
They have. You're right.
They got their two matches this past weekend against the Blasters, who are
Mhm.
winless. They were rained out, so they didn't get to take advantage of some points there. Um, my model still has them like seventh in the conference, which would be about third or fourth in the division. So,
Right.
um, yeah, again, down through sixth place. Obviously, the Blasters haven't been terribly competitive this year, but again, you know, they only lost to even the Tigers by 9 runs earlier this year. So, um, you know, down all the way through sixth place, all of these teams, you know, ball bounces a different way a few times this year. They could have all been in the playoff race.
Oh, right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the Lone Star Athletics might be, I mean, they might be the best 2-8-2 team I've ever seen as far as
Yeah.
the talent they've got, and they have a few guys who are really performing. You know, you have
Yeah.
Cheyenne Jahangir, who's absolutely had a phenomenal season.
Oh, he's been
You know,
outstanding. Yeah.
he's one of the top two or three or four best players in this whole division. And then
Mhm.
you've had, you know, Derville Green's bowled well, Nitish Kumar's bowled pretty well. I think they could have gotten a lot more from their bowlers, to
Mhm.
be honest with you. I think that's kind of where they've kind of failed a little bit,
Yeah.
and that and their batting a little bit towards the end of the game. You know,
Yeah.
they could have really used a guy like Willem Luddick this season, and
Yeah.
it would have made them, you know, it's hard to find a good finisher.
Yeah.
And if a finisher has a slumping season, you know, if a finisher like Hamad Azam in the West, for example,
Mhm.
having a perfectly fine season by statistical measurements, you know,
Yeah.
but last year he was amazing.
Yeah.
So
He was our MVP last year. Yep.
he was the MVP last year. He's the best player in the
Mhm.
league last year. And that
Yep.
takes us to the West, and it's all but certain that East Bay Blazers are
Yep.
going to advance here to the playoffs, by the looks of things. Now, Seattle has a chance. They certainly have a good chance, and they have a lot of say in what that chance
Mhm.
is. But East Bay has looked so good lately. I said this same thing going into the last weekend last year.
Mhm.
But I don't see them losing this weekend. They
Yeah.
have a much easier schedule to end the season on this season.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. So they just have the one match against the Hollywood Master Blasters. Hollywood, frankly, probably the weakest team in the division. They've got 2 wins this year by combined 9 runs against a couple. I think it's San Diego and then the Chicago Blasters from the Central. So, yeah, East Bay almost certain to take a win, and probably, unfortunately for Seattle, probably a big win on Saturday from the Hollywood Master Blasters. So, assuming East Bay, doesn't shock us by losing. If East Bay wins that match, Seattle's going to have to sweep the Golden State Grizzlies and sweep them big. They're going to have
Right,
to make probably right now it's like a 0.2 run deficit on net run rate again, but again, East Bay is probably going to expand that with a big win against Hollywood. So they got 2 matches to do it. They'd have to get 2 big wins.
right,
But not looking great for Seattle going up against a really good Golden State team.
sure.
Um, that they haven't fired on all cylinders, but they've got Vatsal Vagela back. He's not
They're not
not
the
on
type.
USA duty, so
Right.
that's
Yeah.
not a bowler you want to go up against when you're trying to make up a net run rate deficit.
Right.
Um, and that's a good team. So
Yeah.
they were certainly in the playoffs last year. So yeah, tough for Seattle. It'd be great to see them make a run. But I guess either East Bay or Seattle. That's new face in the playoffs, just like we're going to see in the Central. So um, either way, it's somebody new. But yeah, looking like advantage East Bay at this point.
Right. And speaking of Golden State, yeah, yeah, they're not the type of team you want to count on trying to make up a net run rate
Hmm.
against. Um,
Yep.
Last week we saw Sammy Adams score a century, so they haven't given up. That they haven't laid
Hmm.
down. They're not going to do that. As long as you've got a guy that's capable of scoring a century every week, Sammy Aslam could
Hmm.
score a century. Nobody's shocked
Oh yeah.
when Sammy Aslam scores a century.
Yeah.
That's he's just that good of a player. And then you got eh, another century was scored in the West this past weekend for the SoCal Lashings, who I don't think
Yeah.
are as bad of a team.
No, certainly.
SoCal Lashings have 3 or 4 outstanding players on that team that
Mhm.
you could see them you could see them jump like Seattle did this past
Yeah.
year. You could see them make a jump with a good off season, with a good, you know, managerial off season.
Mhm.
You know, getting some a couple of new players in that squad, maybe trying to get some guys from, you know, who knows. There's 3 teams down there. You know, there's
Yeah.
there's
Yeah. Yeah.
chances, you know, for them to grab some local guys. But yes, SoCal Lashings, Kedney Clark scored a century for them this weekend.
Yep.
Finally, we know he got out on 99 in the first game of the season, the first weekend of the season, and I believe it was against Golden State, and and he was running for the team's life, trying to get
Mhm.
back on strike at the end of the game. Their only chance was for him to get back on strike,
Yep.
and he was run out. So selflessly, the man gives up his first century for the
Mhm.
team, and now at the very end of the season gets his century
Mhm.
finally. So congratulations to him. He's a phenomenal cricketer. San Diego or SoCal, I think, are going to improve their team enough to threaten, just like Seattle did last year. I think we can kind of, I think we should hope to see something like that. Um, we'll see. T20 isn't known for team building. It's not known
Mhm.
for, you know, the same types of things that baseball's known for, or
Yeah.
you know, maybe the NHL or the NFL, where you build a team, it takes a few years and you have a grand scheme, a grand plan. It's a
Mhm.
little bit more like basketball, you know.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
that
You see who
basketball's
wants to join recruiting, right?
right.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, basketball has their teams that do it too, but usually, you know, you build a team around a couple of really big stars, and you fill in role players. T20 cricket is a lot more like that.
Yep.
But yeah, you still need 5 guys to bowl. You still need
Mhm.
you still need to be able to bat 6, 7, 8 deep. So
Mhm.
yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it looks like we're headed into a great weekend of cricket. This is almost the first playoff weekend, really, when you
Mhm.
think about it.
Yeah. 7 teams for 3 spots is how I see it.
Yeah, so we've got 7 teams
Yeah.
vying for 3 spots. Look, this is why everybody who loves sports, everybody who loves cricket should be following this league. Because after this wonderful weekend of cricket we have ahead of us, we've got the best of 3 series, the first round of the
Oh,
playoffs.
yes. I
And
love the best of 3.
oh man, it's such a unique part of cricket.
Yep.
It's such a unique part of the league. I don't know if I want to see other leagues adopt this, because I like how it's unique to here. But I want to
Yeah.
see this in
Yep.
Major League. I'd like to see this when the Major League rolls around,
Oh, yeah.
a best of 3 series in the first round. Tom, who's your pick? Who do you think is going to make each of these divisions? Let's do a real quick one. South
All
first.
right, let's see. South, I'm going to say the Fire and the Raptors. Raptors home field advantage. Fire have the schedule advantage. Sorry, I think the Lightning are going to miss out.
Ah, well, they do have probably well, I don't know. The Raptors have a tough road, but the Lightning
Yeah.
have a tough road traveling away. They got to win both of them.
Yep.
So yeah, they probably got the toughest road.
Yep.
How about
Yep.
in the East? Who's going to win first in the East?
I think New Jersey. It's hard to imagine them losing both this coming weekend. So I think they're going to get first place locked up.
Awesome. Okay, now let's move on to the Central, the second place spot in the Central.
Let's see, Tigers. I'm going to be there in person. I'm going to be cheering them on. I don't have to be neutral. I'm not going to be on commentary. So home field advantage because Tom is there. Tigers are going to take second place.
All right, and in the West.
East Bay, I would love to see Seattle get in, but East Bay, that's yeah, easy matchup against Hollywood, and Seattle's going up against a good Golden State team. So I think East Bay will take second place.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for joining, Tom. Everybody pay attention this weekend. Last week of the regular season. Take care and enjoy the great cricket.
Will do. Thanks, Nate. You as well.